Good afternoon, everybody. At the outset, we would like to thank you all for joining us. We welcome you to this special session on gender stories, lessons from the two Banglas. Without further ado, I would request the President of the Bengal Chamber, Mr. Subir Chakraborty, to be on the dais, along with Mr. Chandra Ghosh, the former President of the Bengal Chamber and Founder, Managing Director and CEO, Bandhan Bank Limited. Thank you, sir. May I now request Dr. Suranjan, Vice Chancellor, Jadavpur University, Kolkata, and Honorary Director, Netaji Institute for Asian Studies, to be on the dais. We will be joined by Mr. Sikdar Mohammad Ashrafur Rahman, Minister Political and Head of Chancery Deputy High Commission for the People's Republic of Bangladesh, Kolkata, soon. May I now request Ahmed, Mushtaque, Raza Chowdhury, sir, to be on the dais, please. Thank you. I would now invite Mr. Subir Chakraborty, the President of the Bengal Chamber, to give the formal welcome address.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Ahmed, Mushtaque, Raza Chowdhury, Professor Suranjan and Mr. Chandra Ghosh. We have a distinguished line of panelists here today, and perhaps I am the least qualified to speak on this subject, but nonetheless, I shall say a word or two about what I feel about the subject we are here to discuss today. This is a story about genders and story about two Banglas. I do not know whether only two Banglas exist or more, because wherever I go I see a Bangla, whether it is UK or US or Europe, there is always a Bangla waiting for the Bengali population out there. Nonetheless, I think Bangladesh in particular has made exceptional strides in the area of per capita income, gender equality, female literacy, inoculation of children. And this is a lesson, I think, which as neighbors we should learn from Bangladesh, because without some of these measures, it is not possible for the economy or for society to grow as a whole. So there are some exceptional stories on microcredit, micro-lending, and how this has been made possible. I personally feel, particularly in the social sector, if you have to really assure efficient delivery systems, then I think the government has to step in. And it will be interesting to learn from Dr. Ahmed, Mushtaque, Raza Chowdhury as to the role of the government of Bangladesh in this enterprise and how much they have been able to play this role along with the various NGOs who have participated in this enterprise. I do not want to take too much of your time because, like you, I am very keen to hear what Dr. Raza Chowdhury has to say on the subject, along with other distinguished panelists. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. May I now request Mr. Chandra Ghosh, the former president of the Bengal Chamber, to say a few words.
Professor Dr. Mushtaque Chowdhury and President BCCI, Mr. Subir Chakraborty, and Professor Suranjan, who is the Vice Chancellor of Chowdhury University, distinguished guest. Thank you to all of you to attend this event and program. আমি খুব আনন্দিত যেরকম একটা মুহূর্তে আমাকে কিছু বলার জন্য আমন্ত্রণ করা হয়েছে। আমি চিনি ডক্টর মুশতাক রেজা চৌধুরী, ডাক নামে মুশতাক ভাই, সেই হিসেবে যে একজন বিশিষ্ট বিখ্যাত গ্রামীণ গবেষক হিসাবে, এবং সেটা অনেক পুরনো পরিচিতি। আমি একসময় যে বইটার নাম উনি লিখেছেন, আমার ব্র্যাক জীবন, সেটাতে কাজ করার সুযোগ হয়েছিল। দুদিক থেকে যদি বলি, একটা দিক হলো প্রথম পরিচয় হয়, আমি কোনো একটা গ্রামে কাজ করি, সেখানে উনি ওখানে ভিজিট করতে গেছেন রিসার্চের কাজে। উনি তখন অনেক উপরের এবং আমি একটা ম্যানেজার। উনি বিকেলবেলা আমাকে বললেন, চন্দ্রশেখর চলুন সিনেমা দেখতে যাই। এই ওয়ার্ডটা কোনো অফিস থেকে কোনো অফিসার বলে আমি শুনিনি এর আগে কখনো। বললেন যে সিনেমা দেখতে যাই। আমি তো তাকিয়ে আছি, আমাকে ভয় পাচ্ছেন, যাওয়া যাবে না? যাওয়া যাবে না তা না, মানে হ্যাঁ আমার সাথে। মানে এই জন্য বললাম যে ভদ্রলোকটা কেমন ধরনের মানুষ। দ্বিতীয় অভিজ্ঞতা, উনি গবেষণা করতে গ্রামে গিয়েছেন। তো গ্রামে গিয়েছেন, এত বড় মাপের মানুষ। আমি একটু পরে একটা কাজ করে ওই গ্রামে গিয়েছি খুঁজতে, পুরা গ্রাম খুঁজে আর এই ভদ্রলোককে পাচ্ছি না। অনেক মানুষকে পেলাম যারা কি বলে এটাকে, প্রশ্নের উত্তর নিচ্ছে মানুষের কাছ থেকে, কিন্তু ওনাকে আর পাচ্ছি না। তো একজনকে জিজ্ঞেস করলাম যে উনি আসছেনি? হ্যাঁ এসছেন। তো কোথায়? দেখছি দুটো ঘর, তার মাঝখানে একটু ছোট্ট জায়গা, ওর মধ্যে উনি মাটিতে বসে আছেন। তা আমি ঢুকে বললাম, কি করছেন এখানে? বলছে যে এই ঘরে একজন ইন্টারভিউ নিচ্ছে আর ওই ঘরে একটা ইন্টারভিউ নিচ্ছে। আমি শুনছি ইন্টারভিউটা প্রপারলি নিচ্ছে কিনা, দ্যাট ইজ দ্য কোয়ালিটি। দিস ইজ হলেন এই ব্যক্তিত্ব মানুষ। আমি খুব গর্বিত তার সাথে কিছুদিন কাজ করিনি বা সান্নিধ্য পেয়েছি। দ্বিতীয়ত একটা কাজ করেছি, আমি যখন ব্র্যাকে ছিলাম, আজকে অনেকটা ওইরকম পর্যায়ের কাজটা করেন আমাদের প্রফেসর অভিজিৎ বিনায়ক ব্যানার্জি, যে র্যান্ডোমাইজেশন, যে ম্যাথোডোলজিতে উনি নোবেল। তো অনেক পুরনো। আমি তখন ব্র্যাকে কাজ করি। মডেলটা হলো যে টোটাল ব্লকটাকে 4টে ভাগে ভাগ করা, এবং 4টে ভাগের মধ্যে সেখানে ব্র্যাক কাজ করে আর ICDDRB কাজ করে স্বাস্থ্য নিয়ে। এই দুটো অর্গানাইজেশন একটা পার্টে কাজ করে, আরেকটা এ হলো একটা পার্ট যেখানে কাজ করে দুজনেই। সেটা ব্র্যাকের কাজটা আমি দেখি আর ICDDR কাজটা আরেকজন দেখেন। দ্বিতীয় পার্টটাতে শুধু ব্র্যাক কাজ করে, আইসিডিডিআরবি কাজ করে না। তৃতীয় ক্লাসটাতে আইসিডিডিআরবি কাজ করে, ব্র্যাক কাজ করে না। আর ফোর্থ এরিয়াটাতে কেউ কাজ করে না। এবং এইটা অ্যানালাইসিস করে বের করা যে উন্নতিটা কিসে হয়, স্বাস্থ্য এবং মাইক্রোফাইন্যান্স এবং অ্যাওয়ারনেস, সেটা মিলে নাকি স্বাস্থ্যে বেশি হয়, নাকি শুধু মাইক্রো ক্রেডিটে হয়, নাকি কিছুই দরকার নেই তাদের। আমার মনে হয় এইটাই এখন যেটা হচ্ছে র্যান্ডমাইজেশন। খুব পুরনো গল্প, সেটা হয়তো 90 সালে বা 93 সালে বলতে পারে। তো এই যে লার্নিং, যেটা গ্রাম থেকে পাওয়া এবং সেটা একটা বইয়ের মধ্যে তুলে ধরা, সেটা সত্যি এখন এই প্রজন্মের এবং ভবিষ্যৎ প্রজন্মের যারা উন্নয়ন কর্মী, যারা গ্রাম নিয়ে কাজ করার জন্য খুব করেও থাকেন এবং করার জন্য আসছেন, তাদের জন্য খুব উপকারী হবে এই বইটা। যদিও উনি লিখেছেন এই বইটার নাম ব্র্যাক জীবনী, কিন্তু আসলে এটা হলো একটা উন্নয়নমূলক কর্মীর জন্য একটা সুন্দর পরিভাষায় এবং সুন্দর সহজ ভাষায় ব্যাখ্যা করে তুলে ধরা কাজটাকে, সেইটাই এখানে উল্লেখ করেছেন। আমি এই জন্য ধন্যবাদ জানাই যে এটা কলকাতায় আজকে উদ্বোধন হচ্ছে। ধন্যবাদ মোস্তাক ভাই, ধন্যবাদ সব আমাদের যারা এসছেন আজকের এই অনুষ্ঠানে, ধন্যবাদ।
Thank you, sir. We would now invite Dr. Suranjan, Vice Chancellor, Jayapur University, for his address.
Respected Mr. Subir Chakraborty, respected Mr. Shekhar Ghosh, respected Mushtaque Raza Chowdhury, our distinguished colleague from Bangladesh Deputy High Commission, esteemed members of the House, which includes two leading experts from Bengal so far as researches on child rights and gender rights are concerned. I won't name them because I see the session is on gender stories. I think they are the best person to address this. And I think it's on this occasion that the book release is being organized. The book by Amar Bragg Jibon by Mushtaque Raza Chowdhury. Let me first say, and I'll stick to the 5 minutes that have been given to me, this book apparently implies a recapturing of the life experience of Mushtaque Raza Chowdhury. But as one goes to the book really presents us with the entire gamut of developmental projects that have been undertaken by BRAC. We come to know how BRAC was established in the aftermath of the Bangladesh Liberation War, centering around the rehabilitation of the refugees who had come back to Bangladesh after the war, after Bangladesh emerged as a sovereign entity. And then how BRAC emerged as a non-governmental developmental agency to carry the nation-building project of Bangladesh to new heights by involving itself in a whole range of issues relating to health, social welfare, and economic developments. And the range extends from the introduction of oral saline to the fight against leprosy, to village reconstruction, to the fight against poverty, to the expansion of education, primary and secondary and higher education, to the uplift of the livelihood of the peasantry, and most important, for the expansion of the public health care. I hope these were initially the major items which were identified by BRAC as developmental items, and BRAC launched into those items, addressing those issues immediately after it was established, I think in 1972 in Sylhet. And as one goes through the book, one gains a clear glimpse of how BRAC emerged as a non-governmental, cogent force in terms of the development of Bangladesh. And as we know today, Bangladesh has even surpassed India in terms of GDP, in terms of gender empowerment. Even, I think, in terms of per capita, Bangladesh should be soon crossing India. And all this has been possible because such developmental agencies like BRAC did join hands with Bangladesh government, irrespective of the various political turmoils, which ensured the success of Bangladesh as an successful nation state. Mr. Chowdhury, is a wonderful presentation that you have given. It's one of the most important, as Mr. Ghosh said, a most important production so far as a guide to the developmental issues in which an NGO can participate. I would pick up 3 chapters which particularly struck me. The first is chapter 11, which is entitled From the Ground, Krishi Biplab A BRAC. There are 2 or 3 striking points in this chapter. One is the repeated emphasis of BRAC that development in a country like Bangladesh cannot take place through adoption of a top-down approach. They consistently advocated an approach from bottom up. And this particular chapter shows how BRAC could impress upon the government the need for adoption of this approach, and which helped Bangladesh to develop itself as a very successful country which could enhance agricultural productivity along with the maintenance of environmental balance. I was particularly impressed with a report that is cited in chapter 11, which reminds me of one of the developmental paradigms that Amartya Sen had repeatedly emphasized, the paradigm of field to laboratory and laboratory to field. Usually the scientists work in the laboratory, but they do not go to the field to see how that invention is being transformed into the field. And again, the scientists very often are bereft of what is happening in the field. So the slogan of laboratory to field and field to laboratory, that becomes quite apparent from the report that is incorporated in this chapter 11 of this book. For example, take in India the entire issue of GM seeds. Our distinguished scientists sit in the research laboratory. They apprise us about the immense benefits of going in for GM seeds. But they do not go to the field to find out, once GM seed is introduced, what impact it would have on ecology, on the livelihood of the general peasantry. But BRAC did point to the government that this approach should not be adopted, and we were successful in that. The other important point that is brought out in chapter 11, that BRAC did not stop itself in providing microfinancing, but it also ensured that the government adopts the institution of what it calls value chain. It ensured that there should be a system or mechanism where the primary producers, instead of selling to the intermediary their products, could sell their products directly to the government agency through the creation of a value chain, so that the income of the primary producers do not suffer. The report mentions how, for example, in the case of dairy, in the case of poultry, even in the case of fishery, this particular experiment that BRAC did brought immense benefit to the primary producers. I think India has a lot to learn from this. In 2015, not surprisingly, the founder of BRAC, Fazli Hassan Ahmed, was accorded the World Food Prize, rightly so. I then come to chapter 12, which is entitled Nojordarite Nagorik Samaj, Education Watch and Bangladesh Health Watch. Very interestingly, BRAC developed or constituted expert groups, one dealing with education, and the other dealing with health, public health. They produced reports, and they identified some of the shortcomings in primary education, in secondary education, in higher education. They also identify shortcomings in terms of equity and access in the realm of health. And the reports did earn the ear and eye of the government. But I was quite surprised and struck by a particular incident that is referred in this book. এটা আপনারা এই রিপোর্টে আপনারা দেখিয়েছেন একদিন আপনাদের যে প্রথম এডুকেশন যে রিপোর্টটা হয়েছিল সেইটা প্রকাশ করতে এসেছিলেন তদানীন্তন বাংলাদেশের মাননীয় শিক্ষামন্ত্রী। উনি এসে যখন উনার বক্তব্যে সেই যে রিপোর্টটার প্রচণ্ড ক্রিটিসাইজ করলেন, তুলোধনা করলেন, এবং তার উত্তরে সেইখানেই ব্র্যাকের যারা ওই রিপোর্টের সঙ্গে যুক্ত যে সহকর্মীরা ছিলেন তার উত্তর দিলেন। এবং ওখানে আপনি বলছেন, ওখানে কাজী ফজলুর রহমান তার প্রতিবেদনে বললেন, আই কোট, "We can't hide it under the carpet." I just want to request you to put your hand on the heart and find out and ask yourselves whether any NGO of the stature of BRAC in India will dare to do this. Increasingly, it is becoming rare. But BRAC did it. It was successful. The minister went back, and ultimately, the minister wrote back saying that, no, what you have been saying was correct. So this is a process, this is a thing to be learned from Bangladesh, particularly the NGOs which are operating in India. Health Watch, wonderful report that has been cited. It clearly laid down how public health, unless it is governmentally funded, it cannot reach the doorsteps of the people. And that report, again, after initial reservations of the Bangladesh government, did make a dent into the public policy world. And it did leave a lasting impact on the developmental process in Bangladesh. Mr. Chowdhury, here again, I would like to recount to the distinguished members of the House your experience in Vietnam. When we went to Vietnam under the Rockefeller Foundation program, you mentioned that was the time when Vietnam had reached a top peak in terms of the extension of the public health program. So therefore, they went in for privatization, introduction of more private capital, more private participation in public health, and you also referred the disastrous impact that it had. Immediately, a large part of the Vietnamese population was denied of the immense developments in public health that had been gained in the earlier years. And today, when in India, we are talking of privatization of healthcare, when we are talking of the welcoming of the private capital in healthcare, I think this Vietnam experience should be appointed to the fact, yes, there could be participation, private-public participation in healthcare, but we should make a distinction between profit-making and participation. Unless we do that, whether it's in education, in terms of private-public participation, or in terms of health, in terms of private-public participation, we would be facing the same sort of experience that Vietnam did. And again here, BRAC's wonderful report on that cautioned the Vietnamese government, and certain steps were taken to rectify the situation. Particularly, you mentioned, sir, the e-health schemes in Vietnam that were introduced as a result of your intervention. I would just take 1 minute and stop. I would have liked you, sir, to write a little more about the BRAC University. I had the personal experience of interacting with my colleagues in BRAC University. And I think it is an experiment which is unique in the terms of the realm of higher learning. Particularly, your public health, School of Public Health, is one of the most renowned schools in public health the world over. In fact, your departments in social sciences, where again there is an emphasis of linking theory to practice. Your departments in basic sciences and applied sciences, where there is a constant harping on the theme of linking society with science. I think these experiments, these exercises, if it could have been translated to the print in your book, it would have been of great benefit to us. When today we are speaking of the more and more use of vernacular, more and more use of unfolding indigenous knowledge, so that would have been of greater help for the policy framers in Indian higher education, which is witnessing a significant paradigmatic shift today. Sir, I am reminded here of a very pertinent remark, which I think would be very, very pertinent in terms of BRAC. And the remark runs as follows. Institutions become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. Institutions become great not because of their power, but because of their ability to empower others. I think this quote eminently sums up the wonderful work, the wonderful constructive work, wonderful interventionist work that BRAC had been undertaking in the realm of developmental process in Bangladesh. And thank you very much indeed for unfolding that developmental project before us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It is our honor and delight to introduce Dr. Mushtaque Chowdhury. He is a former vice chair of BRAC, the world's largest NGO, and also professor of public health at Columbia University in New York. He has published extensive books on development issues, including poverty eradication, alteration, public health, and primary education. He has over a dozen of books and over 200 articles published internationally. We would now request Sir to please honor us by releasing the book and saying a few words.
Thank you, Shakonna. Honorable panelists, Professor Suranjan, Mr. Chandra, Shekhar, Ghosh, he's like my younger brother, Mr. Subir Chakraborty, and of course my countryman Astafur Rahman, and distinguished guests. I'm so delighted that you all are here today to celebrate the publication of a book in which I was involved. My job has been made very easy by the panelists today, because it seems that they have read it well, and they have told us what it includes. I'm very happy that the launch is being done in Kolkata today for 3 reasons. The book was launched a number of times in Bangladesh, but this is for the first time that it is being launched outside Bangladesh. So that's very important for me. Secondly, that it is being launched in Kolkata, and we know that Kolkata played a very important role during our liberation. Kolkata and the four states that border Bangladesh, the people there had enormous hardship because of the pressure of the 10 million refugees that came here. And we as Bangladeshis are very grateful to India, and because many of your soldiers laid their lives for the liberation of my country. And thirdly, because I was born in Kolkata. This is my birthplace. My father spent his entire work life here in Kolkata, and many of my siblings were also born here. And my grandmother, my dadi, my Takuma was sort of laid to rest in a Koborstan, which is not far from here, I think, Gobra Koborstan. So because of these three reasons, I think it is a very sort of significant event for me personally. It's kind of a dream come true for a person like me. So I thank the organizers, Bengal Chambers and Bandhan, for hosting this launch. Lancet, you must have heard about a journal which is most prestigious and very influential journal published from London and New York. A few years ago, they published a special series on Bangladesh, which sort of analyzed the development of Bangladesh over the years. And can I have my water? And one of the things they looked at is that why Bangladesh has done so well in some of the indicators of development. And the conclusion was that it is because of the joint effort of the people of the country, the government, and NGOs, which led to the splendid results that we are aware of about the country. Chandra, Shekhar, and I work for BRAC, and BRAC is an NGO, as we have been told already. And it is the largest NGO in the world. And this book talks about the different kind of things that BRAC does. I was largely very highly benefited by my very close interaction with the founder of BRAC, Sir Fazli Hassan Ahmed. Because of that, I have been able to really learn about development. Apart from that, I have also been involved with many work outside Bangladesh as well. My work, as has been mentioned, with the Rockefeller Foundation, for example, which really helped me to set up institutions in many countries of the world. In Vietnam, we started, I sort of sponsored a health economics program at the Ho Chi Minh Economics University. Also, I helped set up the Mekong Basin Disease Surveillance Project involving the 6 countries in the Mekong region. And also set up the School of Public Health at the IPGMR in Dhaka. So these are institutions which have been set up, and I was very, very happy to be, very, very delighted to be part of this process of setting up institutions. So these are some of the stories that we have in the book, as has been said. And I'm so happy that this book is now being released here in Kolkata. And again, I thank Bengal Chambers and Bandhan for hosting this, which, as I said, that is a kind of a dream come true for me. I wouldn't take any more of your time, so thank you very much for inviting me to this event.